I am 94 years old. I want you to sit with that number for a moment, not because it's impressive, I'm not sure it is, but because from where I'm standing, looking back across all those years, I can see things you simply cannot see yet. Not because you're not smart, you are, but because the view only opens up from here. My name is Dorothy, and I have been alive long enough to watch the world change 3 or 4 times over, to bury people I could not imagine living without, and to stand in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning and understand, finally, with complete certainty, what actually matters. It took me too long to understand it, that's the honest truth, and if I can spare you even a fraction of that delay, then sitting here and finding the words is worth every ounce of effort it takes. The morning everything cracked open. I was 31 years old when my daughter died. It was March of 1962, a Thursday. She was 4 days old, and her name was Claire, and she had the most extraordinary little fingers I had ever seen in my life. I used to count them. I counted them so many times that first night in the hospital. I thought counting them would keep her safe somehow. As if love, if it were concentrated enough, could hold a person in the world. It could not. She had a heart condition they hadn't detected, and by the time the doctors understood what was happening, there was nothing to be done. I held her for a long time after. The nurse tried to take her, and I said, "Not yet." I said it very quietly, and she left me alone with her. I don't know how long I sat there. Time stopped working the way it normally does. When I finally left that hospital, I made myself a promise. I promised that I would never again take a single ordinary moment for granted. Not breakfast, not an evening walk, not the weight of my husband's hand in mine. I promised myself I would live like someone who understood that everything was borrowed. I kept that promise for about 6 weeks. And then life came back. The dishes needed washing. The laundry piled up. My husband went back to work. People stopped asking how I was. And slowly, imperceptibly, I slid back into the same half-awake living I'd done before. The urgency faded. The ordinary became invisible again. I have broken that promise more times than I can count across these 94 years. And each time I broke it, something or someone had to remind me. Usually the reminder was painful. That's the thing about life. It doesn't stop teaching you just because the lesson is hard. The man who cooked dinner. Every Friday. My husband Thomas died in 1998. He was 71, a stroke, very fast, no warning. For 39 years, every Friday evening without fail, Thomas cooked dinner. It was a ritual neither of us ever discussed or agreed to. It simply became true. He made the same 4 or 5 things, rotating through them slowly, and none of them were particularly good. His chicken was always a little dry. His pasta sauce came from a jar, and he added things to it that I never quite trusted. But every Friday I'd come home and the kitchen would smell of something warm, and he'd be standing at that stove looking very serious and pleased with himself, and I'd set the table. I never told him those were my favorite evenings of the week. I told myself I had time to tell him that. I told myself he probably already knew. I told myself a lot of things that sounded reasonable and turned out to be nothing. After he died, I would sometimes stand in the kitchen on a Friday evening, not cooking anything, not doing anything, just standing there. And I would give anything, do you hear me, anything, to sit across from him one more time and eat that dry chicken and tell him that I loved him, and that those quiet evenings were the closest thing to heaven I'd ever known. The big moments in a marriage are not the wedding. They are not the anniversaries or the trips you took. They are a man standing at a stove on a Friday evening and a woman setting the table without being asked. That's what a life is made of. The friend I kept meaning to call her name was Helen, and she was my closest friend for nearly 40 years. We had the kind of friendship where we could go 3 months without speaking and then pick up exactly where we left off, as if no time had passed at all. We relied on that, the two of us. We relied on the fact that our friendship was durable, that it could absorb long silences, that there would always be more time. And then one winter Helen got sick, and she was sick very quickly, and she was gone before either of us was ready. In the last few weeks, when I finally understood what was happening, I went to see her as often as I could. I held her hand. We talked about old things, good things, but I kept thinking about all the calls I hadn't made, all the times I'd thought of her, picked up the phone in my mind, and then gotten distracted, put it off, assumed she knew. She probably did know, in the way that old friends know things. But that's not really the point. The point is that I missed the ordinary moments with her, the Tuesday phone calls I never made, the lunches we kept rescheduling for a day that never came. The friendship was real and deep and true, and I still managed to let years of ordinary life together go unclaimed. When someone is gone, you grieve the big things, but what haunts you are the small ones. What busyness actually costs. I spent a great deal of my 40s and 50s being busy. I was good at it. I had a job I took seriously, children who needed things, a house that demanded attention, a community I felt responsible to. I moved through those years at a pace that felt necessary, that felt virtuous even, and there is nothing wrong with working hard or caring for your family. I am not saying any of that was wasted, but I remember my children as young people the way you remember a film you watched in a hurry, impressionistic, fragments, a laugh here, a conversation there. I remember my son Michael coming to find me one evening when he was around 11 or 12. I was at the kitchen table going through papers for work. He stood in the doorway for a moment, and I said, "Just a minute, Michael," without looking up. I looked up about 20 minutes later, and he was gone. I don't know what he wanted to tell me, neither does he now. He's 63 years old, and when I told him this story a few years ago, he said he didn't even remember it, but I remember it. I have remembered it for 50 years, that small boy in the doorway, and me with my eyes on papers that no longer exist, choosing something urgent over something that mattered. This is not a guilt story. I am not telling you this so you feel bad about your busyness. I am telling you because you will not see the cost while you're paying it. You will only see it later. From back here, where I'm standing. The body you are living in. At 60, I started having trouble with my knees. By 70, it was my hips. By 80, mornings took longer, and the list of things I could do without help quietly shrank. I did not appreciate my body when I had full use of it, not once. I took for granted the ability to walk a long distance without thinking about it, to sleep through the night, to climb stairs without measuring them first. In my late 50s, I would sometimes look at myself in the mirror and criticize what I saw, the extra weight around my middle, the lines appearing at my eyes. I spent real mental energy and real emotional currency on dissatisfaction with a body that could carry me anywhere I wanted to go. What I would give now for that body. The imperfect, heavy-lined, ordinary body I spent years resenting. Be kind to it. Not for vanity, for gratitude. It is doing something extraordinary right now, and you are probably not noticing. The silence I was afraid of. For most of my adult life, I was uncomfortable with silence. Not the silence of nature, that always felt good, but the silence inside, the quiet, the stillness of an evening with nothing demanding my attention. I filled it, Television, conversation, projects, tasks. I stayed one step ahead of the quiet because I didn't quite trust what I might find there. It was only in my late 70s, after Thomas was gone and the house was truly still, that I learned to sit with it. And what I found there wasn't frightening. It was myself, my actual self, the one that had been running alongside me for decades without being properly introduced. I find her good company now. I wish I'd gotten to know her sooner. What I've learned about time. You think of time as a resource you're spending carefully, and you think that later, after the promotion, after the children are grown, after things settle down, later you'll have more of it. Later you'll slow down and appreciate things. Later is not a place you arrive. I want to be very gentle when I say this because I know it doesn't feel true from where you are. But later is made of days exactly like today. The quiet Saturday morning you're half present for. The dinner where everyone is looking at their phones. The conversation with your mother that you cut a little short. Later is today, spent differently. I am not telling you to abandon your ambitions or your work or your plans. I am telling you that while you're executing those plans, there is a life happening around the edges of them, small and warm and unrepeatable. Don't let it happen in your peripheral vision. The people who left too soon. When you are 94, most of the people you love are gone. That is simply the arithmetic of a long life. My parents, gone before I was 40. Thomas, Helen, my sister Ruth, who died at 68 and still feels impossible to me. 2 friends from my working years, neighbors who were woven into the ordinary fabric of my days. Each of them taught me the same thing, the way a teacher teaches the same lesson through different examples until you finally understand it. And here is the lesson. The love you're carrying, tell it. Don't let it sit quietly inside you like money you're saving for a special occasion. There is no special occasion. There is only Tuesday morning, and the person standing across from you, and the thing you feel for them that you keep assuming they already know. They may know, but they need to hear it anyway. You need to say it anyway, because saying it is not for them. It's for you. It's so that you can stand in a quiet kitchen 30 years from now and not be haunted by the silence of all the things you kept inside. What I watch in the young people around me. My granddaughter comes to visit me every few weeks. She is 38 and she is wonderful, and she is almost always slightly distracted. There is a weight to her days that I recognize completely. The job, the children, the 10,000 small administrative demands of a modern life. She sits with me and I can feel her presence, and I can also feel the part of her that is elsewhere, planning, worrying, composing messages in her head. I was her once, exactly her. I don't say anything. It's not my place to tell her how to live, and she wouldn't hear it the same way at 38 as she might at 70. That's not a failure of hers. That's just how time works. The understanding comes from living through it, not from being told. But I do put my hand on hers sometimes when she visits, and she stops for a moment, just a moment, and I think, yes, there it is, come back, be here, that's what I want for her, that's what I want for you. What 94 years finally taught me. If I had to reduce it all the loss, all the ordinary mornings, all the Fridays and the dry chicken and the daughter with the extraordinary fingers, if I had to bring it down to the smallest possible truth, it would be this. Be here now. Just these 3 words. Just this. Be here now. Not after the meeting. Not when the kids are older. Not when things slow down. Now. In this moment, which is the only moment that will ever be real to you. The only moment where the people you love actually exist. Be here now. I broke that promise in 1962, and I have kept breaking it and relearning it across 9 decades. But I understand it fully now. And understanding it fully, late as it is, has made my days very quiet and very full at the same time. I sit at my window most mornings. The light comes in a particular way that I never noticed when I was young. The coffee is warm. The birds are doing whatever birds do, and I am here, entirely here, without anything else competing for the space. It took me 94 years to earn that morning. I hope it takes you far less. You are not too busy. You are not too late. And the ordinary day you are living right now, this unremarkable, forgettable, irreplaceable day, is the thing you will one day love most. Be here now. That's all I have. That's everything.